Hi, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About This. I am your host, Crystal Hicks. My guest today is Theresa Merritt-Watson. She is the author of a book titled Black Tech Leaders in Technology, Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. Theresa, welcome to the podcast. It's good to have you on. How are you today?
I'm doing well. And Crystal, I want to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming on. I was looking forward to doing this interview with you because we're going to be talking about some Black folks in technology.
Yes.
And this is a conversation that I don't hear a lot about. We don't talk about the contribution that Black people have in technology. And could you tell us, first of all, I want to ask you about the book. Um,
Mhm.
what inspired you to actually write this book in technology?
Well, what inspired me, Crystal, was one of the things that you see is that young children know a lot about technology. And I really wanted to engage with them in this space so that they can learn about the great things that African Americans have contributed to technology. And so when you think about things that we use on an everyday basis, you don't think about African Americans. And I think it's important for us to start thinking about the great things that we have done. This country would not be what it is today without the inventions of African Americans. But people really do not often think about us as it relates to research, intervention, or what inventions. They don't often think about us. But I wanted to reach the children. And so
Right.
we want to start, and that was a place I started.
So yeah, this is interesting because we don't hear a lot about the contributions that Black people have contributed, and especially in the school system, they don't talk about it a lot
Yeah.
with the students in school. You don't hear a lot about that. I remember when I was in school, we learned a lot about American history, you know,
Hmm.
but they never really focused on you know, Black history in detail as to the things that, Black people had contributed to this country, and I think well, I can't say I think this is a very important conversation to have. And I just want to know why did you choose to spotlight inventors from the DMV area specifically? And are there any particular interesting stories or achievements that stood out to you during your research?
Well, before I go into that, American history is Black history. Black history is American history. And because without the Black history, Black invention, the American history would not be what it is. And so
Hmm.
the schools, a lot of the schools elected to leave out the contributions of African American history. But without the African American history, there would be no American history, but they just leave out our part.
Right.
It's like when you grew up, you thought Christopher Columbus discovered America. To find out that he never stepped foot on this planet, on this part of the Americas. He just, entered the Caribbeans. But there's so many things in our learning, in our books, that the writers knew were not true from the very beginning. So even some of the history that we have in the books are not true. So
Hmm.
but as it relates to the DMV, as you notice, there are people from Illinois. They're all over the place, and so when you're talking about the history,
Hmm.
it's a lot of DC, the DMV area, which I actually like. I lived there for over 25 years,
Okay.
so I know it pretty well. Um, so one of the things is that what I try to do is highlight other things opposed to necessarily the area, because at some point in time you would see that African American were moving. They were moving from south to DC to Philadelphia. You have DC has a massive amount of people that move from North Carolina and South Carolina and Georgia into that area, and so you could take some of the things like some of the people like Alice Walker, Alice Parker, I'm sorry, Alice Parker, she was born in New Jersey, but lived in DC because she went to Howard, you
Right.
see? So DC has a uniqueness about it because people go and they'll stay a while and then they'll leave. It's not often that I have anybody in there that actually was born in DC,
Mhm.
but but my thing when I'm doing the research, one of the things that I try to highlight for our African American kids is that a lot of our people went to school. A lot of our people did not go to school. I want them to know that you can be successful without having a degree. Lewis Latimer created the filament for the lights, but he was a self-taught engineer.
Mhm.
Alexander Miles created the elevator door opener, and he was a self-taught engineer. And we really needed that because our black men were getting killed when they touched a lady in the elevator door when she
Mhm.
would. And then you have Frederick Jones, um, that created the refrigerator truck because the medicine was going bad before he could get it delivered to the hospital. And one that's all over this world is Garrett Morgan.
Mhm.
Garrett Morgan created the lights, stoplights, traffic light as we know it today, and traffic lights everywhere.
Mhm.
They absolutely everywhere. Um, so the inventions that we have invented, and we're still inventing things, by the way. Um, if you take a look at them, they have had a profound impact, not just America, but I'm just right now focused on America, but the world. GPS. We were in France, and the guy turns on his GPS to take us to the Louvre and all these other places. That's a Gladys West invention. So the things that we have contributed should bring us joy and happiness and pride. And that's what the message I wanted to send to these little kids that's going in first grade. Because my book is written in first or third grade.
Mhm.
And so but when you pick it up, it is for everybody because the book was sent out to people 20 to 85, and no one came back knowing more than two people.
Mm. Wow, isn't that something? Could you
Mhm.
tell us more about Valerie Thompson and her work on the 3D illusion transmitter and how has her invention impact modern technology?
Well, if you look at Valerie Thompson and you look at the um, Disney, if you will, Disney used a lot of her devices in their animation. And so if you can see when you draw a picture, when we used to draw a picture before Valerie's invention, it just had one dimensional drawing.
Mm.
And with Valerie, it brought the picture more of a life drawing. When you see the Matrix, which, those kind of scientific shows, you see her illustration and her illusional transmitter into this. That's one of the attributes I see in Valerie's invention throughout when I'm watching. Um, I watch a lot of the scientific, the what do you anyway? Uh,
Sci-fi?
yes, I'm stuck here. And
Yeah.
so, the Thor movies and things like that, I
Yeah.
do watch that. And so you see Valerie's invention in that. So how she took something from one dimensional and to 3D illusional to make it more lifelike.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yeah, that's I was reading, I was doing some research on that and I was really surprised to see that, that she invented something like that because we don't think about, the things that we do as far as technology. We
mhm,
always associate it with non-black people, and like you said, it is important for us to, to address a lot of these technical things that people have done. You know, like Mary Jackson, her story is it's very influential. What do you think her greatest legacy is, both with NASA, because she was the first black woman engineer at NASA.
Hmm.
I
She
was
was.
surprised to hear that. I was surprised to. Well, I saw the movie Hidden Figures. That was that based on her.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it was based on her. But Mary Jackson had a story, and this is the thing that people need to take a quick look at. When Mary Jackson was a young child, her parents saw that she had unbelievable math skills, and they didn't have a lot of money, and so a lot of people from church, they pitched in and helped, and they supported her passion. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want parents to see, is that your kid's passion may not be, because she grew up on a farm. And so it may not be what your passion is, but to support your kid's passion. And that's what her parents showed,
Mm-hmm.
that they supported her passion, the church supported her passion, and whatever it took for her to just keep expounding on what she knew and what she enjoyed. And that's what I would like. It doesn't have to be, it could be, if your passion is, I know a guy, whose father works on the Mustang. He knows the engine inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And what he does, now his son is going to go to college to be an engineer, and his goal is to work on a Mustang now, and change it a little here, tweak it a little there. But he knows the engine. That is his passion. He would never have been able to find out his passion. Been working on it since he's about 4 or 5, if he had not if you had not embraced it. And that's just something that we often don't see in school, is kids being introduced, or their passion being nurtured. And so, if you see Mary Jackson and you continue to read about her father, her mother, they nurtured her passion. Now,
Mm.
are we getting that? Sometimes we do.
Mm-hmm.
We're so busy with our thing, we forget how important nurturing a child's passion is.
That is
So,
right.
because I know that I have 6 kids, and you run them here, you run them there, you're all over the place. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't take the time to nurture what their strengths are, what their passion is. I'll give them exposure. You have to continue to give them exposure. Even if my philosophy is, if you don't have very much money, there's so many things that you can do that are free. Like, you have to prepare food for your kids. Let them take part in that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just little things. I mean, I lived in the countryside. I don't right now, but we went fishing. That allowed us to teach the kids the anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my kids recently said that they think that they're going to take that up as a hobby. I
Right.
never knew it. So that's something that we need to start looking at doing. And not only that, showcasing the great things that African Americans have done. If we don't start supporting or pushing ourselves, no one else will do it. North Carolina Central at one point scored higher than the surrounding PWIs, in people taking the bar. They were scoring in the 90 percentile at one point.
Wow.
People were fighting to go to Duke, to go to Carolina. That's where they wanted to go, even though Central had the highest uh, pass rate.
Right.
You see? So we got to embrace the things that belong to us and help us when we lift them up. That's one of the reasons I wrote the book, because we need to know about Mary Jackson. We need to, and kids need to think, why would she be the first one? Why does she have all these problems? And so Martin Luther King says we should never lose our critical thinking skills.
Mm-hmm.
But are we teaching our kids to do critical thinking?
Yeah.
Are we spoon feeding them? Are we indoctrinating them to think the way we think, opposed to them, you know, thinking, using critical thinking skills?
Yeah. And we have to be careful too, because now with this technology they have with this artificial intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
that can actually think for us. And and that can take away your critical thinking skills, because all these computers are doing things. Everything is doing things for us now. It's not letting this generation use their mind,
Right.
and that's something else I noticed. I mean, not to take away, I mean, artificial intelligence is good for certain things, but it's just some things that I think everything has its pros and cons, and I just think that with AI, you can use it to think for you like nowadays. Now you can ask an AI to write you a whole essay and it could write it for you, whereas it could take from people using their own mind and their own thinking, so and
Well,
that's.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, I was going to say that's something that we have to like really be cautious of because we don't want to be able to have, artificial intelligence thinking for us for everything.
Well, the thing about artificial intelligence is that you have to be careful because there's some mechanism that gives you what you they'll tell you some things that's not necessarily true about
Hmm.
Black people. If you put in some certain questions, it'll tell you some elements about people. This is absolutely not true. And our teachers remind us that we can put stuff in AI all we want to. So if you decide you want to write an AI paper, they have the mechanism to tell you whether it's an AI paper. Did you get it from AI? But we do use it in a way. It does, I can see it impeding on our ability to do our own independent thinking.
Hmm.
And that's a sad thing. But students are not supposed to be able to use AI in school until they turn 18.
Hmm.
Um, um, and that's what a lot of the schools are asking kids not to do. But I'm sure that that's just totally, they may not use it at school, but I'm certain they're using it at home.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is that in COVID, during COVID, we had to use Zoom or, some mechanism like that. But then we don't think about who created the Zoom, who created voice over IP. And so when you think about Marion Croak, you know how powerful that tool is now, something that she created.
Right.
And but you don't think Black when you're talking about it. You don't think about Marion Croak.
Hmm.
I just, I don't really see, I don't really know how to make sure that the families, the children, the businesses, like businesses, I think would not have all this power of that they have if they only knew the things that they're using is designed by some African American. You wouldn't have so many obstacles to overcome as a Black person because you go and use this color monitor. Mark Dean created that. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
know,
Right.
and voice over IP. Marion Croak created that. So I think we start to be. I tell my kids when I go and do these book tours in school. Put these things on the refrigerator just to remind you who created it. So you start developing a sense of pride. I want my book to take these for these kids to read it before they go to school. They develop a sense of pride, a sense of ownership, a sense of belonging. So when they walk into class, they have a sense of who they are.
Hmm.
So if you decide, and I also want people to know that when an African American kid know who they are, you can't just nurture other people that you think are going to make it in life. So if you have someone in your class, in your first grade class, and their father is a chemist. Their father is the head of the chemistry department at UPenn.
Hmm.
Um, then you go in your first grade class. Oh, what did you guys make today? What was that formula? Do you know how to do that mathematics? Whatever you're nurturing and bringing up that. However, if you're coming from a place where the father fixes his own car and stuff like that, but in that Every single person has a passion, and you should be able to nurture that. But I think when I say we, a lot of time as Black people, we won't push the envelope a little further to say, yes, my kid worked on the car with his father all summer. Well, it seems boring, but quite frankly, this kid is learning how to really build an engine.
Mm-hmm.
He's learning
Right.
so much engineering that it is parallel with the guy that's learning the chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And so we we have to push that.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that nurturing is absolutely necessary for our kids,
Mm-hmm.
no
What
matter
would you
what their
su-
economic background is.
right? What would you suggest? How do you think that the education system needs should go about pushing it a little bit more in the school system? Because
Well,
now in Florida they trying to take so much away, especially now is what's going on with all this politics with, they trying to take us back. They trying to take books out of schools. They trying to, white Black history out of the school system. How do you suggest? What do you suggest that people should do as far as like pushing that a little bit further?
first, from a parent point, from a parent, you you make sure that the school nurture. You can tell your teacher, you can tell the teacher, particularly at first, oh, my son worked on this car all summer with his dad. That is really he's learned a lot. And so you watch this same kid, right? He developed his math skills. His math skills are beyond a fifth grader. But you don't associate that passion that he's had because his father says, "Give me a 3 inch, give me the one that's symmetric is X, and whatever." He's talking in those mathematical terminology that the kid has become familiar with. Which
Mm-hmm.
actually he says, I need 20, I'm gonna need 20 screws, but I only need four at a time. So automatically he's putting 5 rows together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, 5 in a row. I mean, 5 in a set. But so when you tell your teacher, you say, well, this is some of the things that we have done. And I think people should just simply say to the teacher, we're nurturing our kid. He seemed to enjoy the mechanics of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should be able to give a teacher something about our child that you want them to help nurture. Because
Mm-hmm.
this kid over here that's in chemistry, math skills are okay. And the ones that's working on the car, his math skills are fine too. Two separate things. One, the father's a professor in the lab or something. The other one, the father works at the warehouse, but his joy is his car.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, his son is going to be working on a Mustang when he gets older.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's going to do. And this is all I'm saying. We have to do some things. Well, I think sometimes when I look at education, I think that we go in and we are looking for them to educate our kids, and we see over and over again that we're getting the short end of the stick.
That's true.
And then we sort of just let them just keep pushing things through, pushing things through. The system would not be in Oklahoma during John Hope Franklin era. They had in Greenwood High School scored the highest on their integrate test score of any school, Black, white, in the whole state.
Mm.
We have always had schools that were doing uh, Marvel Collins schools. They did exceptionally well.
Right.
So, and there's so the ability for us to do it, and those models that they had, we're not getting curriculum where they're utilizing those models.
Right.
Even though, and so if you take Marva Collins, she got kids from all backgrounds. I mean, really, some really bad backgrounds as well,
Mm-hmm.
but she worked miracle with those. She had a 99% success rate in our kids.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter where your kids come from, their ability to learn, their ability to keep growing is there. It's how you approach that learning,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm hoping that the book will help people do, develop a sense of pride. Is
Right.
what I'm hoping.
So Gladys West, she
Mhm.
contributed significantly to the development of the GPS technology. And
Hmm.
how do you think her work has shaped our everyday lives in the field of geospatial technology?
Well, her technology has been have had a profound impact on the world on the world. Now, we think about it when we're using a car, when we're walking somewhere, but you look at the location. Every child of mine got my location.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of Gladys West's invention as well. Because she just and so I think that when we're looking at that, you people have taken her invention and actually done spin-offs on things like the location on my iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
So she just people continue to expound on her invention. And as far as even the satellites, the satellites,
Mm-hmm.
Russia use it, United States use it. We're using all sorts of things that she have created. So
Mm-hmm.
that's it has had your answer your question. The I just can't describe the impact that she has had
Mm-hmm.
on the world.
Yeah. Your book targets grade school kids, but appeals to all ages.
Right.
And how do you hope it will impact young readers, and what feedback have you received from various age groups?
Well, the older age group, I would say
Yeah.
30 and up, the ones that have children, they said they learn with their children. And so
Right.
the thing here is that it's hard for a parent to invoke these teaching if they don't know.
Mm.
And it's hard for, and sometimes you will pick this up when you're in high school. And when you get your family, you remember that how important it is. So I do think that I've gotten a lot of feedback that my kid just love it. He keep rereading it and rereading it and reading it. And I do the same because I didn't know it. So now when they go to school, it's not about, these people are important, but it's not about the research from Martin Luther King or Jesse Jackson or Rosa Parks. They have other people that they can research that they can relate to. You can relate to the cell phone. You can relate to GPS. You
Right.
can relate going and get ice cream out of the ice cream box. And so I really, want to be able to encourage people to take this book and and give it to someone as a Christmas gift,
Hmm.
you know, because they will learn.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's yeah, I love the design. Who did the graphics and everything for the cover? That's a nice cover or the book.
We had a young lady that did the graphics, and Gerard Herman, and he does the driver and the illustration.
Hmm. Yeah, I like it. I say, oh man,
Thank you.
I love the way this book was designed. It's eye-catching.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's really eye-catching. How important do you think it is for children, especially those of color, to see role models in the tech industry? And how does your book help facilitate that?
Well, sometimes when you don't see role models, you don't really understand, you don't really grasp that you have that capability. When we see role models, particularly the ones that look like us, it gives you a sense of hope that, I think I can do this. I think I can, I'm sorry. Um, that I think that it gives our people the sense that we too can be able to do this. When you don't see yourself, you start thinking maybe it's just not for us. But I think when we see people and we see in our school talk about talk about the great things that African Americans have done, it gives the kids the hope and desire that we can do that as well. And so this is one of the reasons why now we have a Carol branding person. It's a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Carol, we're actually asking schools. We give you everybody Black History for the week. Every
Mm-hmm.
week we give you a Black History fact. And so they're less than 30 seconds. And we're asking the schools to adopt Carol to be able to play their kids 30 seconds of Black history, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's between first and third grade, so it's pretty clean. And so we can start just seeing ourselves in these things. It's going to impact how we see a kid that may be making some bad decisions. Say, I really like doing some engineering work. I
Mm-hmm.
really like learning how, and I don't remember all of these instruments, but I remember I was in France and they had instruments I had never seen, never heard of, that were actually developed and made in Africa.
Mm.
And so there's some things that you'll get that will bring your curiosity, that even may help you find your passion and your
Mm-hmm.
purpose. And these are the things that, because every child has a purpose
Mm-hmm.
and they can walk through life and never fulfill their purpose because nobody nurtured the things at this younger age.
Right, that is so true. Yeah, that's why it's important. It was important for us to see the first black president because I never thought I would live to even see a black president, and let alone see the first black woman. And I'm putting that out there that Kamala's going to win this election. So,
She's win. She's
yeah,
gonna win. She's gonna
yeah,
win. I think she's I'm gonna say I'm gonna even put a definite in there. I think it's not as close as people
that,
think it is.
yeah.
People make us think it is. That's what I say. I don't think it's that close.
I
I
don't
think
think it's that close either. But time will tell. I think people are ready to just move forward in this country, and they just tired of all the nonsense. So,
I that is Krista, I will agree with you. I will agree with you, and I thank God every day that we didn't have like a massive hurricane destructive in Florida, so they can recall the election, hold off on it or anything. So that's a blessing within itself as well.
yeah, it is. For young people who are interested in pursuing careers in technology, what advice would you offer them, and what resources are available to support their journey?
Well, the resources. Let me see. When you want to do technology, I think for kids, I don't care what color you are, people should not take a do it because of money. They should do it as a passion, and the money will follow.
Yep.
That's one thing because a lot of times our kids they'll spend a lot of energy on what they can do to make money. Like I'm going to
Hmm.
be a basketball player. I have a nephew. I have a nephew. The tallest he probably get is 5'5". But he he is so convinced that he's going to be a pro basketball player. Now,
Right.
every now and then you have a fluke in there, but you know, um, so you do have those things. You really got to home in on it. You got to strengthen your skills, the skill area that you're in. You want to be an engineer in technology. You got to have some good math skills.
Hmm.
You got to have some good math skills. You got to have great analytical skills
Right.
because a straight line, it may take a straight line in some other um, area like art, but that line may bend in technology. And you got to
Hmm.
be able to do that. Learn your things, put your time in.
Hmm.
You got to put your time in. You got to commit yourself to something. These things are absolutely important. This is one of the things where I like as a young child, you can teach your child commitment. You got to be committed to some things. And so, and when if your child, if you say you have to clean your room, there's no exception to that unless someone gets sick or something like that. Not that you want to go and play with your kids. Consistency is going to be important when you're trying to create and you want your child to create, um, to work in their passion, because their ultimate goal is to work in their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And without you having structure, it's hard for you to fulfill your passion, your pursuit, and your purpose. Because you
Mm-hmm.
could have a passion, but you got to learn how to pursue that thing and what it takes to pursue it and how to pursue it and all these other elements to go into that.
Yeah, and to
You know,
master it. Yeah, and to
yes.
keep working on it, and try to be the best at it. Which is important. What are in your opinion? What are the key qualities that you think that a great leader in the technology sector should have?
Well,
What?
I think regardless of whether you're in the technology or whether you're in the arts, those those qualities, honesty is always at the top of the game for me. You can't walk over people because if I have more money and I can just walk over you, whatever you're doing. Honesty is always at the top of the game. Consistency is always important. Your commitment, and I hope I'm not leaving out things. And you have to work hard at learning your craft. So you can't say, I want to design, I want to write about Black people and then just find 10 Black people and then write about them. No, you have to really understand that there's other things and learn about the industry that you're thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I was telling about a friend that's working on a motor of a car. Now, generally speaking, a motor is a motor.
Mm-hmm.
The horsepower, the size of the engine, and that stuff change. But there's some components in that motor, in each one, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to commit yourself to learning your craft to its nth degree.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that you need to put time in and not half do it.
Right.
And so it starts at a young age. That's why
Mm-hmm.
when I talk about your commitment, your kids need to have standards, your kids need to have commitments. And you say kids with a commitment, yes, your commitment is not to leave your shoes in the floor. And
That's true.
that's not my job. My job is not to pick up after you.
That's true.
Those things start very young. And so as you help the kid progress through these different stages of life, they learn these skills that you are talking. So it's no one set because you're going into technology that's different than somebody going into art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
They're far cry different, but they're the same. If you were going into theater, you couldn't go and audition for a play without understanding the character.
that's true. That is so true. Yeah. How has like the landscape for Black professionals in technology evolved over the years? And what changes do you hope to see in the future?
Well, what I will say is that not only has more men, you see more African American men than it was when I was growing up, are in technology,
Mm-hmm.
and you see more women in
Mm-hmm.
technology, um, and that has really grown tremendously. Um, I personally have two daughters in technology. And as I see, my husband was an engineer, so I think
Mm-hmm.
that just sort of naturally rolled off on them.
Mm-hmm.
But I see a lot of women in technology. So I think as you progress and as we become if we become when we become more critical thinkers, like Martin Luther King said, you will see our hands buried in technology. But technology has its strength and its weaknesses. Like right now, um, the government is looking at digital currency. I think digital currency is very important. We use it now with our credit cards and so forth, and the tapping and that. Some
Mm-hmm.
people have had it in even their credit cards and things embedded in their skins. That's not me. But the problem with that is that we have a lot of things that we give. Like I go and I will make a contribution to something that's going on in the African American community.
Mm-hmm.
I might give $20 to a kid that's selling fish sandwiches. Fish sandwich not worth $20, but
Right.
instead of you getting change back, you give it to the kid. And so somebody tracking every little single dime you have, I think that they're doing this in a silent way that we're not paying attention to it. I think MIT is the one that has a contract with the government, and we're doing these things in a silent way, and it's going to impact our community. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that we should start paying attention to technology more than what I see that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that one of the things we have contributed and will continue to contribute it. And as we develop our own sense of security amongst being Black, you'll see the growth in that Black community like none others.
Yeah, that's true. And lastly, what message or do you hope readers will take away from your book, Black Tech Leaders in Technology, Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow?
Well, I'm hoping that it will give our kids, particularly our kids, I know when I say our kids is under 9,
Yeah.
um, a sense of problem solving. I want them to give them a sense of critical thinking. I want our kids to start going to school and not accepting indoctrination, but more education.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that is something that is just sort of riding the wave right now is indoctrination. And people sometimes have and so I want them to still be able to do that. If you plant those seeds in a young kid's head, he's always curious.
Yeah.
He's always curious. And so if we can get our kids to look at themselves and then go to school with a sense of pride, a sense of honor, knowing who they are and what their contribution has been, it can have such a profound impact on our education system as it relates to African American.
I think so too. Yeah. I think so too, because it will give them some hope that,
Yes.
and inspiration, especially knowing that people of color contributed to these things, because we don't look as Black people have contributed to technology. We only look at white people being contributed to it,
Mhm.
But when we see our own kind and our own people being contributed to it, it gives young people a sense of inspiration too.
And that's so true. But I have done reading and things to all white audience and things. And a lot of times when they come back and say, I didn't know this, I had no idea, so forth and so on. Or they challenge me on the Edison and Lewis Latimer thing. And I'm like, okay, I got this, So
Mhm.
um, but everybody needs to know the great things.
That's
And
right.
I think that, I spend most of my time trying to educate the African Americans. And because, that's who I really want them to change their outlook of their perspective on what we have done.
Hmm.
But I find that other groups are just as spellbound about some of this stuff. They know a lot of times they know more, they know about the invention, but they didn't know that we had a contributing factor or um, we were a contributing factor to this society.
That's
And
true.
that's what I want. That's what I want to get out there to our people.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very important. Now the book, it hasn't been released yet, but it will be released. When will the book be released?
November
Uh,
12th, but we're taking orders right now, November the 12th. And and so what we're doing is doing pre-orders. And scheduling events and classroom events. I've done Georgia, New York, and New York, DC, North Carolina, Virginia, all up and down the East Coast, actually.
mhm.
So that's been rewarding for me.
Yeah, I know you're excited about it.
I am excited. Because I love this work so much. I do a parenting class, and then when I do the parenting class, I always incorporate the importance because my audience is predominantly Black. I always
Mhm.
incorporate the importance of teaching your kids.
Right.
who they are before they
Hmm.
leave home. It's like teaching your kids manners and things. So when your kids get in the grocery store, they're not cutting up, pulling things off the shelf, doing all that. Why? Because they learned it at home.
Right. Exactly.
She's
Yeah, because
she's
that's where it starts. It starts in the home.
she's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he he's I have a little Pomeranian and he likes to be on he's likes to be under me all the time. He's my baby though. He's spoiled and he always wants to be in my lap even when I'm working. So, yeah.
Yeah, but so we just getting it out there is really, really important to me. And so whatever venue I use to get it there, the libraries, the school, I think it's important and it's time. I thought it was time for us to stop just accepting things and start pushing what we have done out there,
That's
you
right.
know. And I was looking at construction, and there's a lot of things in the construction. You see these high-rise buildings and you don't think black when you're doing it.
You don't.
We had a profound impact on the material that's used in building. That's in one of the other books. So,
Okay.
so,
Right.
but I know that there's so much that we've done, and I just want to be able to give our kids, our family, and people the how important it is. The other
Right.
stuff, the math, science, and all those things, we had a profound impact on that. So as the kids continue to grow, every subject that they have, we have some space in there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's what I want you to see. I don't want our kids to keep going to school and thinking that Robert E. Lee was this great war man.
Right.
He was there, but he was not a great man when you start unpacking him. I guess my point here is that we get Robert E. Lee, Hoover, and stuff, and what they give us is the great things that they've done. But then some of these people, they slaved, they abusive, they did a lot of other stuff that we never hear about because I'm not advocating to release all this stuff, but I am advocating for our history to be true.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm advocating for. And we have been taught a lot of history that was not, you can make anybody look good. You can make Charles Manson look good if you wanted to,
That's true.
and then a person over here, they victimize, you can make them look like they have no value.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I see some of the things that African American, it is time for us stop doing, to stop just accepting things and start putting ourselves out there.
That's
It
right.
can be a little scary because I've never really focused being in the front of something like interviewing is a little scary to me. But
Mm-hmm.
this is so important to me. I'm willing to do it.
Right. Yeah.
That's how important it is to me.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Well, Teresa, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast and make sure you guys get the book and it will be released when? What day?
November the 12th, but you can go to Synergy Network LLC.com and you can go there and get it. And next week you can just get it off Amazon.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes. So please get
Yeah.
it. Please get it. Give it if you're adult and say, "Oh, I don't want to get a children book." Get the book. Give it away to a child for Christmas.
I was getting ready to say this.
For
I was getting ready.
Kwanzaa.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say this would be the perfect Christmas gift. I think I'm going to do that for my two young grand twins. I have my youngest grandchildren are twins, and
Hmm.
I think that I'm definitely going to get that. It would be a gift for them. You know.
Yes, that's what I want people to do. I even want corporation to just, if they would just buy the book, I could give it to kids as a stocking stuffer
Right.
for all this holiday. And so I
Hmm.
think I think I'm going to write some companies and see if I can get that done.
Yeah, that would be good
Yeah.
if you can do that. Yeah, definitely,
So
definitely. Yeah.
So
Well,
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I get all excited when I'm talking about Black history. So
right, right.
I'm sure you have to edit this.
Yeah, well, that's it's your passion. We was just talking about passion. When you have a passion for something, you do get excited about it and you enjoy doing it. And it's not work. It's not work,
No,
especially if it's a passion. So,
no.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the book being released, so I can get a few copies for my youngest grandchildren as a Christmas gift. So I'm looking forward to it myself. So, Teresa, thanks again. It's been a pleasure
Thank you
having
so
you on.
much.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
and
I
for the
look forward to seeing it.
oh, thank you. And for the audience, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you watch the content. Don't just subscribe without watching the content, because that's what's important. And we'll see you next week for another episode of Let's Talk About This.